Two teammates, one championship on the line. After tensions exploded in Canada, all eyes are on McLaren. Will they keep control or let this rivalry spiral out of hand? The 2025 title could hang in the balance. McLaren boss Andrea Stella has made it clear. Team orders are off the table, even after the dramatic clash between Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri at the Canadian Grand Prix. The incident saw Norris slam into the back of Piastri while the two battled for position, forcing Norris to retire and handing Piastri a 22-point lead in the standings. While Norris took full responsibility for the mishap, it marked the first real tension between the usually well-aligned duo. Still, despite the rising stakes, Stella insists McLaren won't clip their wings, promising that both drivers will continue to race freely, albeit with new safeguards in place to avoid a repeat disaster. Being free to race, and the being clear as to how we go racing is a value of racing, Stella said. It's a value of racing that we want to try and exercise and respect as much as we can. Rather than every time that we have proximity between the two cars, then having control from the pit wall. Racing like that, racing may soon become a bit of an artifact. McLaren's dynamic duo have emerged as the front runners in this year's F1 title race, with the team dominating the season so far, bagging 7 wins out of 10. But with both Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri gunning for their maiden world championship, team principal Andrea Stella is treading carefully. He acknowledged the risks of meddling in such a high-stakes battle, making it clear that McLaren is fully aware of the fine line between managing competition and stifling it. We want to give Lando and Oscar opportunities to race and opportunities to be, at the end of the season, in the position that they deserve to be, based on their merit, based on their performance, based on the racing quality that they have expressed through the season, Stella said. Rather than being at the end of the season and realizing that the points have been controlled more by the team, rather than the quality of their driving. This is not necessarily a simple and straight exercise, but we want to try and do it as best as we can. I don't foresee the Canadian episode will change our approach from this point of view. If anything, it will reinforce and strengthen that the principles we have require more caution by our drivers. If we say that there should be no contact between the two McLarens, we need to have the margins to make sure that we have no contact. Even if in a DRS situation, the car may get almost a little bit sucked onto the other car and cause this kind of misjudgment as to the distance. Lando Norris is going through a rough patch at McLaren, especially after his costly mistake in Canada. With McLaren finally handing their drivers a car capable of winning it all, the pressure is sky high. And some F1 pundits are beginning to wonder if it's starting to crack Norris. While Piastri has stepped up and delivered when it counts, Norris has yet to match that consistency. So much so that even his critics are calling out the glaring inconsistency in what he said about Lewis Hamilton at the F1 movie premiere. What he's achieved on the track. First of all, that's something I can't even dream of. One world championship would be cool, but he's gone on and he's got 7 and he's got 100 wins. That brief moment at the F1, the movie premiere, brought Norris face to face with a figure he once openly criticized, Lewis Hamilton. Flashback to the 2020 season. Mercedes were still the undisputed kings of the grid, and Hamilton was en route to securing both titles for the Brackley squad. But not everyone was impressed. After the Austrian Grand Prix, a young and fiery Lando Norris didn't hold back, taking a swipe at Hamilton and suggesting his dominance came down to the simplicity of the car beneath him. I'm just happy for him, nothing more. It doesn't mean anything to me, really. He's in a car which should win every race, basically, said Norris. He has to beat 1 or 2 other drivers, that's it. Fair play to him, he's still doing the job he has to do. While Oscar Piastri has thrived this season, asserting himself as a genuine title contender, the same can't be said for Lando Norris. Despite moments of brilliance, Norris has struggled to maintain momentum, falling short not only against Piastri, but also in the wider championship battle. There's no denying it, Lando Norris is starting to slip in the 2025 title chase. Trailing his teammate by nearly 22 points, Norris is finding it hard to keep pace with Oscar Piastri, who's clearly hit his stride this season. While Piastri has delivered a steady stream of strong performances, Norris has struggled with consistency, a critical factor in any championship fight. So far, Norris has only managed 2 wins this season, the most recent being his flawless drive in Monaco, where he looked untouchable all weekend. But those high points have been few and far between. F1 pundit Martin Brundle has weighed in, suggesting that for Norris to stay in contention, he needs to cut out the small but costly mistakes that keep derailing his campaign. Lando won't win a world championship unless he can stop these weekends happening. It's as simple as that. He's got to bring his A game pretty much all the time, like Max does. Oscar's much more solid in his delivery week in, week out, much more consistent. I find it really confusing that those two different levels of performance. He needs to park one and deliver the other one more often, but there's a long way to go. Martin Brundle isn't ready to write off Lando Norris just yet, but even he admits the shift has been dramatic. From leading the championship after the season opener to now sitting 22 points behind Oscar Piastri, it's been a stunning reversal of fortunes. Brundle had high praise for Piastri, calling out the Aussie's rock-solid consistency that's made him the frontrunner for the 2025 title. According to Brundle, a clash between the Mclaren teammates was bound to happen eventually. But the collision in Canada, that was entirely avoidable. They weren't even scrapping for a podium, just 4th and 5th. In the end, Norris's aggressive move cost him far more than a few extra points. It handed momentum squarely to Piastri and left Norris with another bitter lesson in championship patience. Brundle's take may have leaned toward optimism, but not everyone in the paddock shares that view. Former Red Bull and Minardi driver Robert Doornbos offered a much harsher assessment, claiming Lando Norris simply isn't championship material. In his eyes, the gap between Norris and Piastri isn't just about points, it's about pedigree. Speaking on the aftermath of the Canadian GP crash, where Norris took himself out by rear-ending his teammate, Doornbos didn't hold back. He suggested that the 25-year-old Brit lacks that elusive, magical touch that separates race winners from true champions. That he's not on the level of Oscar. Doornbos replied on the Pit Talk podcast, "I think Oscar really is a world championship driver, with many titles in the near future. Then there's a difference between a very good Grand Prix driver who can win races, who's up there but doesn't have this magical touch. And with McLaren's title, hopes riding on 2 very different trajectories, the question remains, can Lando Norris rise to the challenge, or has Oscar Piastri already taken control of the team's destiny? The battle's only just begun,